Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. And this time I'm back again with another walkthrough on the Tower of God. This time I'm kicking off from episode 21. This is actually quite an important part in the story because now we're going to start accelerating a little bit as to where we go. And just for a happenstance, this is right at the point where Baam has accepted the challenge from Anak. So here we go, and let's start it up. So it starts up with the big proclamation from Raak saying that there's no game without him. There's a lot to talk about over here. And Raak actually threatens Anak, says, "Don't back out, lizard." Right? And she looks at him, and Liraro tells her he'll add the new rule. So they'll join this year, and basically they're told to go back to their room. Now, remember in the last one, we already got a little bit ahead of this, where we saw what Anak was doing immediately after this year. So Liraro sets the crown back on the seat, and he watches as Anak leaves. So this will be the best crown game in history, and there's a reason why he says this here. The trophy which they're fighting for is something so spectacular you might not ever see it again in the entire tower if you had to climb. So this is something really special. At this point, the team moves on. We know that Enderossi provokes Anak, and they keep moving through. And remember, this isn't really her name. Anak Jahad is just the name that she has taken, the name of her mother, who was Anak Jahad. So they keep moving forward. They get into their stuff, and they basically discuss the fact that their team has been disbanded, and Enderossi basically passes out a little bit of a comment, right? Like that she's a little bit bored and it's time for the fun to start. And Baam thinks to himself that because of him, his teammates are in danger. And we get the whole message where he's told never to betray a girl. I think I'm a bit behind on my notes. Yeah, I think I'm definitely behind. So I'm actually kicking it off with 20 instead of 21. So I have to go through again. So yeah, sorry about that. What a mistake to have made. So yeah, all together they head out, and the game starts with everybody moving through. There's going to be a lot of things that are very important to discuss over here that need to be said. And one of the things that I believe is super important on this particular part is going to be what Khun does. Because Khun is a very devious personality, and in this one year we get a lot of a show from Khun. So everybody is marched out to the center, everybody is getting ready for this crazy crown game which is unprecedented, and there's a lot of special plays on the field. A lot of people who had massive advantages are out. One with the super elongated body, one with the Shinsu wand, because remember Shinsu is a massive power in the tower, and the small rat who can basically fly, or squirrel, whatever it's going to be. And everybody rushes out to try and get there, and then Khun just shows a blast of speed from himself. He's so fast that they barely even moved from where they were, and he already reached the crown. He grabs it and he says, "If I sit, the game is over, but there's no fun in it, so let's make this year interesting. You have to beat me, and I'll give you the crown." And he starts giggling because he's playing diabolical games over here. So nonetheless, this is what happens, and Shibisu proclaims that he is quite smart with what he's doing. Remember, he tosses the crown forward so that everybody else will have to go for it, but everybody gets angry and they start attacking him and charging at him. And they have the option to go for the crown or to attack him, and they decide they're going to attack him and then they're going to steal the crown. So they all gear together and they start attacking Khun with maximum power. Now, this is all part of his plan, just by the way. He intends to distract them so that Baam can make it to the center. Remember, he is the weakest member of the team, and as I said before, the weakest member should be the one on it because it makes it easier for you to defend. So they all start chasing, and we see the fights as they start erupting. Rock starts having a fight, Kun starts having a fight, and they fighting really good. While they're doing this here, a sneaky play is played by the little squirrel as he tries to sneak behind them and take the game for itself. So yeah, you get the idea. A lot of devious stuff is occurring in this whole situation. They're playing dirty, they aren't playing fair. You get it. It's the tower. It's what is meant to happen inside this tower all the time. So, right, following this, we get the fights as they go on. Everybody starts attacking Kun, and it doesn't really go really badly for Kun. Kun is unbelievably powerful, just for by the way, and his bag has a lot of power where he pulls out the knife from it, and then he absorbs the stretchy guy into the bag, and we see a lot of things going on. We also see one of the key parts of this whole situation. The scout, who they don't give us the name of very well, I don't remember her name, I think it's Neon or Nino. She sees the bag and she is after expensive things. She wants the bag from him because she knows that it's very special. And Bam ends up pulling off something crazy where somebody shot a bullet at him and he stops it in mid-air. Everybody is fighting and all of these things are crazy, but the way that it happened and the amount of power that Bam shows when he stops that bullet out of nowhere when it goes at him is something very special to realize. That it's another show of power that Bam has that nobody knew, right? Remember, up until this point, everybody thinks of Bam as weak. Even Rock thinks that Bam is weak as an individual. He just has a very powerful weapon. But the moment it happens, something unusual happens, and when Bam stops this here, it's a show of power from this individual. Power that is beyond them. And let me give you a reason why. To stop a bullet that's moving that fast takes a lot more energy than you can imagine. You know steel which deforms? That amount of force, that little pressure that it goes through? There is something which you don't understand. And Bam manages to stop that. Now, as soon as that is through, you have to understand that this is a show of what we're getting in the future. We never ever truly understood how crazy, unbelievable Bam's power was. But nonetheless, at that point, Kun shows that he has the actual crown, and just Marum Barumdina had made a copy of the crown. And then he shows how he can make copies and how they can just evaporate instantly. And he gives the crown over to Bam in the next episode. That's 23. Okay, so let's get on to this here. Let's make sure that I'm not going to overshoot any time limits. Right. This is actually a very important part. It actually shows a lot of the special powers that they had. Kun's bag is ridiculously OP. Right? The fact that it can duplicate things makes it insane. And the next thing is that his strategy shows that he was unbelievably frightening when it comes to strategy. Right? Once Bam sits down, the round is over, they win, everybody returns to their rooms, and Kun plays another trick which we know because we already know that this happened in the story. Obviously, we know that Kun had this trick up his sleeve. He had the other individuals in his bag. So he ties his hair up to show that he wants them to come in and back him up because that's the deal that he made with them. And everybody walks out and they say they want to make a deal, let's not fight each other. The three start attacking all of the other side individuals and they knock them down really quickly. At this point, everybody is all confused as to what's going on, and Kun says you don't have to worry about it, you don't have to fight at all, they're just going to fight themselves. And they fight themselves, and Kun's plan goes as he expected, and he reveals exactly what he did in the fact that in the first test he actually collected these three individuals ahead of the test, and the fact that Han Sang-yu figured out what he was up to, which is why he had to release them. So he explained that he could use them once, and this is his version of a bribe that they had, so they managed to pass because he had managed to trick this whole flow of the exam. And once they won, they just simply returned to their room and everybody is knocked out from that round. Now, you might not understand why this is so important, but let me just give you a little bit more of a hint. Winning the round without fighting says that Khun was well beyond his skills. And they all sit down and they talk to each other, and basically Shibisu says, what if they win the last round? And Anak looks a little bit worried, but she knows that there's a Princess of Jahad and everybody is going to jump in because all you've got to do is win this final round and it's game over. Remember, Anak won round 1. Then they won round 2 where they interfered with Bam. Then Bam's team won round 3, and round 4 Khun played his trump card. Then finally the final round where everybody jumps in, everybody is on the field, they start moving in, and he sees them instantly start charging. Now this is the first time Waryun gets into the flow, and this particular game is very special because it shows us the power of Bam in particular. That's what the crown game is very special for. But let's continue on with it and go with the fighting. The fighting is erratic, it's going crazy, and Ender Rossi ends up doing something unexpected in this one year, where all of a sudden she jumps in and she saves Bam instead of attacking Bam, because she could have crushed Bam in an instant and stole the crown. If anybody gets to the crown, they win. So you stop any and all enemies from getting that close. And these guys are really powerful from the team which Waryun is part of. And she basically demands that Bam put down the crown, but he refuses. She's about to attack him and he doesn't even bother to move. He just takes up a defensive stance with the Black March, and Ender Rossi intervenes. Now, Ender Rossi still hasn't fallen for Bam, just by the way. This is just because of something which happened in the room, which we find out about later down the line, that they were discussing whether or not they could just kill everybody on the field, whether Rachel would have been fine with it, but she decided that they would go for this round in this manner. That is, not just Rachel, it would be Rachel, Ender Rossi and Ghost who are going for this year. At this point, Bam sees Rachel and he wonders to himself, could that be that voice? Could it be Rachel? And he just sits in the chair, and then all of a sudden it changes over to the next episode. The next episode starts with Bam looking at Rachel, and within a matter of seconds after that, their Ghost breaks it up. But we also have the whole fight with Waryun and Ender Rossi. And Ender Rossi is putting up a good fight against Waryun, considering that Waryun already knows all the actions he needs to take to win. It's her path forward. She is doing exactly what guides do. And there is something else which needs to be described in the situation. Okay, so the fights all start kicking off, they start getting a bit more crazy, and when Ghost shows up, as I said, Bam figures that it can't be Rachel. The matchup doesn't work right. The battle is really bloody, and with these three helping, it makes things really crazy. So Rak assumes that Khun bribed them to help, and Khun says no, he doesn't know them. They're from the other testing area. These are the unknowns in this match. And then all of a sudden Shibisu says, why aren't they stealing the crown? Why did they join the game in the first place? Now Anak is looking all confused. What's wrong with them? I thought they are just going to win the game instantly when they jump in. What are they thinking? And the fight continues and everything goes the way that it's supposed to. So finally the round looks like it's just about cleared. Everything is down to the end, and it seems like everything has gone perfectly. Ender Rossi is fighting off Waryun, and Waryun is putting up a very good fight. All of a sudden, Ender Rossi slips because of her heel, which has been her Achilles heel. She jumps over to where Bam is and she hits Rachel. At this point, Bam sees Rachel and he instantly jumps to save her. this year makes him lose the game, and nobody ends up claiming the crown. But this is the most crucial part in the early part. When Waryun smashes him on the head and he protects Rachel, he releases that flow of Shinsu to protect her. And this is why you can consider this year to be absolutely insane. This is Bam's own flow of Shinsu. This isn't Shinsu being controlled in the way that it is supposed to be controlled. This is Bam's Shinsu control style. There is nothing to it. There's no addition of Lowry's, not Lowry's, the Panskul's method of using Shinsu. This is naturally what Bam has as a power. He hasn't been trained, he hasn't been instructed, and he is instantly as powerful as he ever needs to be. He's already showing that he's a beast. This is already guaranteed from Bam when he did this here right in the start. But nonetheless, everybody is shocked at it because nobody expected it. And it was possible that he made a contract with the administrator when nobody was looking, but that is just like so unbelievable. It's so outside of what you should expect from this particular type of an individual. And it's one of the reasons why it's such a big upset for anybody who was fighting against the team at that moment, because you have no idea what's going on. The shakeup that happened on the field is something to the effect of a miracle happening in the middle of a fight. And that's exactly what happened for Bam when he did what he did. He showed them his true power as an irregular. The next thing that we get is a cut through to Yuri and her team, and they all looking for roads to get to the test floor quickly. And at this point, her team comes back, the scouts come back, and they say that there's a route and it's blocked with white steel eels, and the Shinsu is really tough. And basically, they explain that the Shinsu where they are is really, really dense, and people have a hard time moving through that type of Shinsu. And they're wondering if she's really a high ranker, because she should understand the difficulty of moving through Shinsu. And then they explain that she has Shinsu resistance, and that it's not possible for people to just run through. You have to be extraordinarily rare. So she says she saw a kid do it like it was nothing, just not so long ago. So the cutter, the wave cutter in their team, basically puts up his Wingtree badge as an opportunity to find out if this is true. So Yuri tells him that he'll be giving his badge to this person really soon because he is that powerful. And this is something else to note. Bam's Shinsu resistance puts him in the same league of power as high rankers before he even reaches anything crazy. That means reverse flow control, all of these things, when they're affecting him, it's because he isn't putting his all into it. We're just getting tastes of the power that Bam has. And these are all things that are important. Now, we end up ending off this chapter with that pushing through to the next level. And we get right back to Bam. And we see that the test is over. Waryun's eye has been slashed, she's bleeding. And the game ends there. Nobody ends up taking the crown. Rachel holds Bam instead of killing Bam. That shows that there was something else going on there. She's not as heartless as we would have believed. Nobody took the crown, so the game ended without a winning team. And everybody ended up back in the exam in a single lot. Because remember, those three were on their way through. That's what the whole idea was. Give them a special reason to go through. So Liraro goes and he asks Han Sang-yu what was the whole meaning of this year. And basically at that point, they also expressed a little bit about Ebon Kal's size, that she's huge and tall and short, and you know, all of these crazy things to talk about. So nonetheless, they have this conversation, and Liraro asks what was the whole purpose behind this test that Han Sang-yu had him conduct. And he says, "You stopped those who would be a threat further up the tower, did you not? Because of the ones I sent your way." And this here like clicks a little bit in Liraro's head, and he realizes that he stopped Bam, and Bam is really irregular. So he said that there wasn't anything irregular about the test, blah blah blah. So he asks then the next question, have you ever seen anybody manipulate Shinsu without a contract? And his answer was, he's never seen it, but he's heard of it from the irregulars. And he mentions, wait, have you ever seen someone who's not from the 10 great families, who hasn't made a contract with an administrator but can still freely manipulate Shinsu? That is beyond the rules of the tower, but I've heard of one, Yurik Mizuno. He was an irregular. And basically that's how it goes. So irregulars can control Shinsu without permission from an administrator. They basically hold the same level of power. So nonetheless, all of this goes down. We see that flash of what happened. It's not what we see in the anime where the power is crazy. We just see this rapid small cut run straight through her face. It stops her. It's Shinsu manipulation. It wasn't crazy powerful, but it was of its own volition. It was a power beyond their understanding. It had no control behind it. It was just, power for the sake of power. And they're wondering if Bam will wake up. And 2 days had passed since that whole thing happened. We get the meeting between Rachel and Kun and their conversation and the fact that they're going to hide everything from Bam. So nonetheless, this is where that chapter ends, and we know that they finally decide that they're going to hide everything from Bam. So in the next episode, we get Anak taking over the Black March to Shibisu because she wants to get the Black March to talk, and the Black March just refuses. So she takes it over to Shibisu, and Shibisu grabs it, and basically, what's the story? Black March refuses, says that she wants a better looking guy, doesn't like Shibisu, and it brings up some of the funny things that are in his head. And basically that's the whole story. He tries for a second time to try and control it, but the Black March punishes him. So he says, why do you want a weapon that won't listen to you? You already have the Green April. And there is a reason why she wants it. She's just not going to tell Shibisu. So that was the end of it. And she says she was wrong. She thought she was good enough for that day. And then we see Serena enter the room to show that they aren't on bad terms even after the crown game. And basically we get that whole scene. And after that day, we get Enderosi and Anak having a little word where she basically warns Anak that the Black March belongs to Yuri and that Yuri is exceptionally strong. She also tells Anak that she is a fake, because she is a fake. She isn't Anak Jahad. She's the daughter of Anak Jahad, and we still haven't gotten her name. It's one of the secrets. Just like Enderosi Jahad is also another fake. Enderosi would have another name. She's part of one of the 10 great families. She's an adopted member, but we will get the name eventually. We get them teasing and mocking each other. And basically she asked who was that girl who was with her on the team and whether she was strong. But the answer was she just got a feeling that she's from another world and that she was different and that she shouldn't attack her. Like there was danger emanating from her. So Rachel talks to Kun about Bam. She explains the story about Bam and basically that she's going up the tower to look at the stars and that she can't do this here because Bam would stop her. So Kun figures out that there's a way he can help them. He starts hatching his plan about, getting them to pass together. We get Rak showing up and checking up on Bam, all of these things. And eventually, we see the imagination from Rachel's side where she shows the whole top of the tower. And we see how much Rak actually cares for Bam. And we see that he keeps telling him to wake up or I'm going to eat you. Wake up. And then the next test started. And 2 days later, finally, Bam wakes up. Now, I'm just going to start going through the next 2 chapters really quickly. We get the whole story which Rachel gave to Bam in the tower when they were sitting below the mark of Jahad and that special cross that's there, right? We don't know what the cross symbol is, but we do know the Jahad symbol is the 3 eyes. And we see that they were inside there and they had the imagination of a sky beyond imagination, something that spans your reach and just goes on forever. And that is what Rachel gives Bam as a thought to think about. They complete this situation where they play a game and they eat and they go to sleep. And after this year, we see Bam wakes up finally and everybody is happy and they express to him that he's still on this floor and he basically asks, has he failed? And they say that the test started 2 days ago, but he is super lucky since his teacher is late. And that is just how it goes. And finally, Leraro gets back and everybody is talking about the positions. They talk about the various positions, right? Now, there is something that might be super important about this. I'm not 100% sure. Where he talks about the basic positions, the fisherman, the spear bearer, the light bearer, the scout, the wave controller. He explains them as very basic positions, that each team consists of these as their basic part, but there can be more to a team than just this. And he puts out everybody who's in each team. We get a whole list of who it is, and then we find out about the little title that they've been getting, the best seed position. And people with the best seed are the ones who did well in previous tests. One person was chosen per test, and they ask how did they do it, and we get the whole comic skit where Chibiso asked if he bribed him somehow to get best seed, and basically they get a threat after a few minutes when they pester Leraro for too long. And Kun asks what about those who aren't here, and he explains that they are responsible for their own injuries, it's their responsibility. They each have to worry about their own classes. But everybody else will be starting immediately except for wave controllers. So basically, Bam is in the wave controller position, so he is a little bit lucky. He might get a chance to make it. So yeah, that's why they expressed that he was lucky, and we get the whole thing with Rak eating bananas. We get the whole crazy thing that Kun came up with where he says that's Michelle Light and not Rachel. And they go through all of this where they're fighting. And finally, they give Bam his new change of uniform, and he changes up, he cleans up, and he puts it on, and we get the iconic looking Bam from season 1 of the story. So yeah, that's the whole thing over here, and I'm cutting it close. So Bam goes down, he enters into his position training class, and we get him into his first lesson. This is where the chapter ends, and we'll move on to the next one. So 29 and 30, there's not a lot to go through in 29 and 30. We just get the basics of how contracts are made. We get the basics of each position and what type of training they're doing. So he helps them set up a contract. There is something important in this here as well when it comes to the conversation of how powerful rankers are, when he explains he could kill everybody in this room instantly, and without a contract you can't control Shinsu. Lauri had a contract which he made in his sleep, and the girl with the baton had the permission from the workshop, so she already had a contract. We also get the sight of Bam speaking to the administrator, where the administrator tells him that these contracts are more of a shackle, since for him, he has greater power than what they could allow him to use. So he is actually limiting his power by making this contract. So finally, everything is done, and we get, as I said, a look at every other position. We get the spear bearers, where they're given the whole objective of hitting the target, which they consider close for a spear bearer. If you hit it, you pass instantly. We see that Rak tries, he fails. We see that Ghost passes it instantly on the first shot. And this drives Rak insane because Rak believed he was really powerful. And that's the end of that chapter. So the next thing to note about this here is we're going into the craziness that's happening in the exams. So finally, we get the whole breakdown of the exam where Bam is explaining that he doesn't understand what's going on. And Ho shows that he can use Shinsu by making the little ball in his hand. And then after that, Lauri says that he shouldn't have been put in here. It's quite cruel because they're going to make him fail. So regardless, with all of this here, the whole thing that follows this is a little bit of a quirky comeback from Bam that he shouldn't be so mean about it. And he says, why don't you come here? I'll just show you a trick. Imagine the whole world in your hand. And when he sees Bam's potential, he's like, nope, this guy is insane in potential. He just copied a technique that takes people years to learn instantly, just because I showed him how it's done. And he says, right, let's keep up with this here. We get the whole thing with the scouts trying to make friends. Chibisu and Hats try to make friends with Kun and Bam, and we remember that Bam doesn't have friends, and this is why Kun agrees to it eventually. We get the whole fighting between Hats and Kun, and the fact that Hats doesn't like what what Anak did in taking the Black March, and that whole thing is no longer their issue, and that they feel sorry, and they get the whole seppuku insult being passed between them. I didn't know it was seppuku. I thought it was something else, to be honest. And yeah, that's the whole thing. And then Kun does his whole exaggeration of everything in his city, wears earrings, even the animals and the cars. And the two go at it, and basically they're like frenemies from the moment they start. And we see the whole thing, like I said, Bam becomes friends, and they get the whole hint that the crocodile has left. We then get Rachel dreaming of the stars, and we see the whole thing with Bam being there, having his friends and walking away, and she's being left alone while he goes into the light, becoming a star, becoming the thing she's chasing after. And that's a nightmare for her, right? And that is where it says to be continued, the end of chapter 30. Now, there is a lot to discuss about these whole following in this chapter. I'm going to go over my time limit, which I said would be 30 minutes, by a big amount this time. So here are all of the things that was pointed out from the start of this 10 chapters all the way till the end. They point out Bam's powers. He has some mysterious power that stopped the bullet. That goes beyond anything. That could be the red monster that showed up later down the story. We still don't even know what it was that happened in that situation. We just know that Bam is insane. And no matter what you have to say about it, Bam's powers are on a level that we just don't understand. They're far beyond where we should be able to understand in the tower. So yeah, there is something else that we have to understand. And the next thing is when Bam releases his little attack. Now remember, his defense is something spectacular on its own that showed that he was far more of a threat than he ever was. Because he saw the threat, he stopped it instantly. And we get a hint that he could have been able to have done this here against Rak's spear originally if he really wanted to. So yeah, there was something else that we were given a hint towards. And when he got hit by Huari Yun, we got a hint of how powerful he was. It may not have been the power of Shinsu that he used, but the control that he displayed shows that he was well beyond where he could have gone. His show with Lauri, where he actually creates a Shinsu orb instantly on his first try, says that he is something spectacular. He is a greater power than you can imagine, and I suspect that he's even greater than Yurik Mizuno, Jahad, Pentaminum. Oh, sorry, it may not have been greater than Pentaminum, the riddle, but yeah, but he has a power that's really, really crazy, insane to even think of comparing. And that is something that we get a hint to right now in the start of the story. So yeah, that's going to be about where I'm going to end it for this one. And that is what this small chapter, this 10 episodes in between, really highlight the most to me. The real underestimation of Bam. So catch you all in the next one as we go up another 10 floors. See you all then and have a good day.